Well, hello, patrol members, and welcome back to another episode of Tales and Mysteries of the Mojave Patrol. Tonight, I have two stories. One about the Thomas Mantell incident, and one about the Gorman UFO dogfight. Now, I was really displeased with the quality of the last episode that I broadcast from the headquarters. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to read from a script for a little bit, and I apologize for that, but I want it to be a little bit more polished. Now, unlike maybe a lot of YouTubers, I don't have time to sit around and memorize a script. So I'm just going to have to try this. I'm doing this for the first time with a script, a real script. So we'll see. Also tonight, we have Johnny Walker High Rye. I've never had this before. Johnny Walker High Rye blended Scotch whiskey, rich and rounded blend of whiskeys crafted from rye, barley, and wheat, married with the finest single malts. Johnny Walker, distilled and bottled in Scotland, and is 90 proof. It has for the nose, it has a sweet wood spice, fresh cut fruit, creamy vanilla. For the taste, green apple, toffee, and dried clove, and it finishes with a dry rice spice. And the whiskey makers are George Harper and Jim Beveridge. Okay, ready? Warning. Warning, warning, Will Robinson.
Warning, warning, warning.
According to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcoholic beverages during pregnancy because of the risk of birth defects. Birth defects. Consumption of alcoholic beverages impairs your ability to drive a car or operate machinery. And may cause health problems. Holy cow. Health problems. Tonight's smoke is a Steamboat Willie cigar. So let's get this cigar fired up. Ooh, it's got a nice tight cap. A really nice even draw. A very mild aroma. I appear to have dropped my matches. Let's get my ashtray lined up. Okay, we're good. Wow. That is a nice mild smoke. That is a good smoke. Wow, that is very good. Very, very mild. Very easy draw. It's got a nice even burn. Oh yeah. Let's open this Johnny Walker. It's all covered with dust. It had been sitting in the liquor store for a long time. I didn't even know Johnny Walker made rye. But then again, I don't know everything, contrary to popular belief. Ready? Ooh, nice crackle. So let's see, am I smelling... I am smelling the spice. That was my phone. I'm not so much smelling the fresh cut fruit, the creamy vanilla, but like I said, there's not a lot of surface area here. So let's take our beaker and pour ourselves about 30 milliliters. There you go, high rye. Oh, please, please. I'm trying to work here. I can smell a little bit of the fruit. My nose does not work all that well, so, you know. Wow! That's 90 proof. Yeah. Woo! Yeah. Wow. For 90 proof, I think it's kind of smooth. It's not harsh going down. It's just that initial alcohol vapor caught me. So, in July of 1948, Captain Tom Mantell and his squadron of 4 P-51, or F-51s as they were known at that time, fighters, were flying to Godman Air Force Base in Kentucky. Actually, yeah, in Kentucky. They're about 100 miles out when the tower called them and asked them if they would investigate a high-flying object over the field. Now, there were at least half a dozen witnesses to this object. So, it's not like, I'm sorry, January 7th, 1948. It's not like nobody saw them but Captain Mantell. People from all over the area saw this object in the sky. It was very high up. And from the ground, the people on the ground saw it as enormous. There were 6 Air Force personnel that saw it. Several dozen civilians on the ground, including police officers and you know, professional people. The locals also saw it. It was described variously as an inverted cone with a round bottom, One guy said it looked like an inverted ice cream cone, and the cone was a reddish color, and there were blue lights rotating on the bottom of it. Another person said it looked like an inverted parachute. So you're kind of talking about, something round on the bottom coming to a point at the top. And almost invariably, every single witness saw the same thing. The only person who was slightly off from the description was Mantell's wingman named Clements, who described it, what he thought it looked like a bright reflection off of an airplane canopy. So, one of Mantell's squadron mates took off for some reason. He landed at Godman Field in Kentucky, and the other 3 aircraft started to chase after the object in the sky. Unfortunately, Captain Mantell did not survive his contact with the object. So, at 2:30 in the afternoon, they started after the object. The object had already been observed from various locations in Kentucky for about 90 minutes at that point. The 6 men on the ground were Captain J.F. Duzler, he was the operations officer, Lieutenant Colonel E. Garrison Wood, the commanding officer of the base, Colonel Hicks, Detachment Commander Lieutenant Paul Orner, Tactical Sergeant Quinton A. Blackwell, he was a Chief Control Tower Operator, and Private First Class Stanley Oliver. All these people saw the object in the sky. So Mantell and his flight started after the aircraft. At one point, the 2 aircraft with Mantell radioed that they were running low on fuel. They were going to fly back to the base, refuel, and rejoin the chase at that point. Mantell said he had enough fuel, and he was that he was fast closing on the object. He said the object was doing his speed, or better, but he was slowly closing on it, and he was going to continue the pursuit. His wingman Clements claimed that he looked over his shoulder, planning his turn, and when he looked back at Mantell and the object, Mantell's plane had disappeared, but the object was still visible. Now, nobody knows exactly what happened in that short period of time. By the time they had returned to base, had gotten fuel and gotten back, which was around 4:45, Mantell had already crashed. Apparently his aircraft flew for another 90 miles and crashed in Franklin, Kentucky. And you want to talk about a strange twist of fate. Franklin, Kentucky, where Mantell crashed and died, was where he was born and raised. Yep. Born and raised in Franklin, Kentucky. Now, they're not sure what happened. Some people say he suffered from hypoxia, and the plane flew by itself that last 90 miles. Other people claim he was already dead when it hit the ground. The autopsy was inconclusive. They know that he was found in the plane, the fuselage strapped to the seat. Witnesses claim that the airplane was in a spiraling nose-down descent when suddenly the plane completely disintegrated in the air and fell to earth. I guess the plane was taking him home to his birthplace. What was the aftermath? There was a precursor to Project Blue Book called Project Sign. Part of Project Sign was a subgroup called Project Grudge for investigating UFOs. There's a name, Grudge. After a thorough investigation, Grudge had determined that Mantell and the two wingmen had been chasing a weather balloon, the planet Venus, or the planet Jupiter. That makes zero sense. Supposedly, there was a super secret balloon project called Skyhook that had something to do with detecting high-flying Soviet aircraft that might interdict the United States. This was during the Cold War. Now, for those savvy enough, you're going to recognize the name as the name that the Air Force says the Skyhook balloon is what crashed in Roswell a year prior. So and I know that some of you people out there are going to see this and say, well, you know, Bill, maybe he was chasing that weather balloon. You know, those balloons are giant. Yes, you're right. They're huge. I've actually seen them up in the sky in the desert, looking at it through binoculars. Am I an ex-World War II fighter pilot? No. I knew it was a balloon. He is at 22,000 feet, approaching an object with difficulty, and his airplane is moving close to 451 miles an hour. $451 miles an hour, and you're not catching up to a balloon? Now, if he was approaching the planet Jupiter or Venus, he wouldn't be gaining on it. He would know that he was never going to catch it. It's hard for me to believe that trained fighter pilots from World War II could not identify something like a clear, transparent balloon. And the Skyhook balloon doesn't float inverted with the skinny part down, with the skinny part up. It floats with the skinny part down, not up. And what about the blinking lights? Several people saw those. Whatever happened to Ted Mantell, may he rest in peace. But I think there's something the government isn't telling us about this. In the town of Franklin, there's a memorial erected in his honor. You're going to see it. There we go. Now I'm going to have another one. Because you know what? It's pretty good. Here we go. The Gorman dogfight. October 1st, 1948. A lot of ufologists and historians know about the Mantell incident, but not many people talk about the Gorman dogfight, right? On October 1st, 1948, Henry Fuller was flying an F-51 Mustang over Fargo, North Dakota. Although the episode took some X-File-like turns with government cover-ups and midnight kidnappings, this incident was based on an actual 27-minute dogfight between Lieutenant George F. Gorman of the North Dakota Air National Guard on October 1st, 1948. Who's this Fuller guy? Oh, that's a different story. I think the names were changed to protect the innocent. On the night of October 1st, Gorman's squadron had just returned from a cross-country flight, but Gorman decided to log some night flying and briefly circled the local football stadium. As he turned towards the airfield to land, the tower advised him about what appeared to be the taillight of another aircraft. The only other aircraft Gorman saw was a Piper Cub, but the identity of the other light was a mystery. Gorman informed the tower that he was going to investigate the light and began climbing towards it. He closed to within 1,000 yards of the light, which he said appeared to be roughly 6 or 8 inches in diameter and blinking. That's the problem with talking and smoking a cigar. The problem, cigar talk with Bill. The problem with a cigar, if you let it go out and cool off, it never tastes the same. I mean, you can relight it and smoke it. It's not going to be terrible, but it's not going to be good. Yes. As you drew closer to the light, as Gorman drew closer, the light became brighter, broke left, and accelerated away. Despite giving chase with 60 inches of manifold pressure, Gorman could not catch the light. When the light started to climbing turn left, Gorman attempted to cut the corner, but the light then broke sharp right and went head-to-head with Gorman's Mustang, so the pilot dove away to avoid what looked like to be a mid-air collision. When Gorman looked over his shoulder, he saw the light making another left turn, arcing around for another head-on pass. But instead of Gorman having to break away this time, the light shot up and disappeared. Gorman climbed in pursuit, but stalled out at 14,000 feet and never saw the object again. The dogfight, which lasted an amazing 27 minutes, was witnessed by tower operators Lloyd Johnson and H.E. Johnson, and the pilot of the Cub, Dr. A.E. Cannon, and his passenger, Einar Nielsen. In Gorman's statement to an Air Force intelligence officer, he said the object emitted no sound, odor, or exhaust trail, and despite pushing the Mustang to over 400 miles an hour, The object not only outran him, but also outmaneuvered him. In a debrief with 178th FS Command Major D.C. Jones, Gorman stated that there seemed to be thought behind the maneuvers, and that he blacked out temporarily whenever he tried to turn with the object. Gorman, a World War II veteran, remained in excellent physical condition. He did not believe that any human could have withstood the G-forces which the object seemed to incur. Fireworks. Do we win a game tonight? I don't know. Okay, here's the good old Project Sign investigators. The Sign investigators concluded that the object that Captain Mantell chased was either the planet Venus or a U.S. Navy skyhook balloon. After Grudge became Project Blue Book in March 1952, Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, a decorated World War II veteran bombardier and Ohio State University astronomer, Dr. J. Allen Hynek, reinvestigated the Mantell incident while rejecting the Hey, we're taking fire, boys. While rejecting the Venus conclusion, they did think the weather balloon theory was plausible. Furthermore, when officers involved with Project Sign investigated the Lieutenant Gorman incident, they came to the same conclusions, that Gorman had chased a lighted weather balloon or the planet Venus or Jupiter. Now, when the cases were reevaluated under Blue Book, they came to the same conclusion. What type of flying object seemingly defies physics and outmaneuvers pilots flying the best pursuit fighter of the Second World War? Well, the truth's out there somewhere. Right here, I'm going to poke in a little World War II dogfight footage so you can see what kind of maneuvers these men actually had to go through.
The P-51, along with the P-47 Thunderbolt, was responsible for escorting bombers, engaging enemy fighters over their own airfields, and strafing targets on their return trip home.
In February 1944, there was a sudden change. Our fighters were ordered to range wider, to seek the enemy in the air and on the ground instead of waiting for him. And above all, to follow him to his destruction. A gigantic fighter battle raged across the European skies with victories by our fighters alone of 60, 85, over 100 destroyed each day. The fight came down from almost invisible heights to the final decision, perhaps only a few feet above the ground. Enemy warplanes of every kind and in fantastic numbers were splashed all over the landscape of northwestern Germany and occupied Holland, Belgium, France. This was a crucial battle. Both sides were aware of the coming events with air domination itself at stake. Once again, a better cause, better planning and leadership, better equipment, and beyond everything else, the valor of our fighter pilots gave us victory. Only this time, it was decisive. So many of the enemy's aircraft exploded over his own forest and housetops, or were driven flaming wrecks into the ground. So many of his famous fighter leaders met death at the hands of our pilots that his morale was shattered. His defense plan was smashed.
You would know if you were chasing something like a star or an almost stationary weather balloon. There is no way that either of the things could outmaneuver a very fast and powerful airplane like the P-51 Mustang. That's just not possible. I don't know what the story is, but the story is somebody was pulling the wool over somebody's eyes. What do you think? Do you think that they were actually UFOs? Was Mantell killed by approaching too close to the UFO? Or did he black out and crash? We'll never know. I don't think we'll ever know. But I want to thank you all for joining Tales and Mysteries of the Mojave Patrol. Next episode is going to be more of a supernatural thing over UFOs. Something that I think is pretty scary, and Marlene won't even watch any stories about them on the television. Mrs. Patrol will not participate in any shows about the black-eyed children. Anyway, like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the situation. I want to thank all you guys for joining me, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. And to Captain Ted Mantell, wherever you are, I don't believe you were chasing a weather balloon or Venus. Oh. High rye, pretty good. If you get a chance to get some, get some. It wasn't very expensive. It was under $20. So, thanks for watching, and later, Mater.
I bring you a warning. Every one of you listening to my voice, tell the world. Tell this to everybody wherever they are. Watch the skies everywhere. Keep looking. Keep watching the skies.